Hey, Bobby Manning here. Welcome to a practice edition of the Garden Report. Celtics wrapping up practice this morning before heading down to Washington, D.C. tomorrow for a quick road stop, front end of a back-to-back before the Pistons back here in Boston on Monday. So Wizards first. Kristaps Porzingis looked like he went through practice today, did some work. Joe Mazzulla said he's getting better and better by the day after missing 4 games with the hamstring injury there, and his status remains up in the air for Sunday. Of course, the back-to-back, he and Al Horford have shared time off in those games. Rest becoming a bigger thing for most of the Celtics up and down the lineup. With a 10-game lead in hand in the East, Joe said that's going to be on a by the game, by the players' needs basis. We've seen Brown sit out a game over the last week, Holiday as well. We'll see if Tatum's going to get any rest here at some point. Would be a good spot. This is the second back-to-back over a week span here, so it wouldn't be stunning to see him sit out one of those games, depending on how they look at those two there. As for Tatum, Brown on fire, averaging almost 30 points a game since the All-Star break. It's been interesting to see their shot totals flip to some degree. Brown averaging the most shots on the team over that stretch, but also their minutes flip in certain spots. Tatum often comes out early in those first quarters, gets his rest, and then comes back for full stretches to end the half. That flipped last game and a couple times over recent weeks, where Brown will come out early, come back out, and lead some bench units, and he did so effectively last night on his way to 37 points. We talked a little bit about that on the show in recent weeks, how they're going to line those guys up into the playoffs, how they're going to extend and start games well, too. In Tatum's case, he got off to that great start in the Utah game while Brown sat. This time again, strong start from him. Brown gets going into the second half. Both end up with solid nights all around, but it sort of comes in spurts. So what's the best way to align those two? Where's the best spot to rest them? I think that's still something they're trying to sort out here. Here was Joe talking about that at practice today.
It's just both of them were having constantly free-flowing conversation throughout the game. Credit to them just kind of trusting the staff on a decision that is made at the time, but there's a few things that go into it. Obviously, if one of them's playing really well, you want to keep that. Last night we changed the sub pattern so that we could keep the matchups that we wanted later in the half, later in the quarter. And so it's just a constant free-flowing thing that, at first is the best interest of them. And then the next best thing is how could we make sure we're taking advantage of matchups, having the right lineup. So just a free-flowing conversation, and the guys have done a good job of communicating that.
And the dynamic between, obviously, you're not predetermining shot totals and stuff like that, but Jaylen's had more shots per game, since the All-Star break here. He's been a little bit more of a focal point for you guys. Jaylen over Jayson. Has that kind of, just been like the matchups since the break? Like, what's kind of led to Jaylen being a little bit more of a focal point in the offense?
I just think they're two different players, and so I don't think the goal was never for Tatum to get the most shots in a game. The goal was to play efficient basketball and win the game, and so the two of them are understanding how they can have impacts on the game differently. And Jaylen's impact comes in transition with his speed and his physicality and his ability to create defense to offense with his on-ball defense and pressure. And so a lot of those shots are really in transition. Because of just his ability to run, and Tatum's come into half court where he likes to play chess and take advantage of pick and roll matchups, whether handling or screening. And so the amount doesn't really matter much. What matters is the process of getting them. And I think since the All-Star break and really throughout the second half of the season, they've both been really fighting to get the best shot possible for them and their teammates through what the game is giving them, and that's really what it comes down to.
Some other experimenting going on, too. You're seeing all the big combinations come into play. He even threw Shea Brissett into that dynamic there. You're seeing Tillman and Al, Luke and Al. Kristaps and Al has been a pretty good look for much of the year. The other ones are still a work in progress. Numbers aren't as good with those groups out there, but Joe likes the defensive stature of those groups, certainly offensive rebounding, an emphasis for this team as well right now. But can you have the same offensive fluidity with those groups in there? It's going to be something to watch down the stretch of the season as well. Bench continue to play well in that win over Phoenix last night. Good stuff from Hauser, Peyton Pritchard, as well as Tillman in those spot minutes alongside Horford there. Cornette got some run as well into some deeper lineups for the Celtics. As their 4-game win streak moves on to Washington, we will be down there have live coverage of that game, 6 o'clock on Sunday, as well as post-game, of course. Check us out there. And follow all our coverage at Celtics All Access. Check out the pressers from today. Joe, as well as Derek White, talking about his Sam Adams commercial, which was pretty funny downstairs as well. I'm Bobby Manning. This has been a practice edition of the Garden Report.